Hi, this is Chef Brad, America's Grain Guy. And today we're going to tackle one of the biggest problems or the biggest hurdles during the holiday season, and that's making the perfect pie dough. And on top of that, the perfect whole grain pie dough, which is a pretty big challenge, but we're going to show you how simple and easy it can be. Remember, it's all about having the proper equipment and the proper ingredients, and anybody can do it. So with pie dough, the proper equipment is a grain mill. And we're going to use our Wondermill. And we're going to take a whole grain flour, and my flour of choice for pie dough is spelt. Remember, spelt is that ancient wheat that dates back thousands and thousands of years. It's absolutely a beautiful grain. It's hard, and because it's so hard, when you grind it in the grinder, it actually comes out like the finest pastry flour you can use. So for pie dough, it's an absolutely perfect choice. Now, if you want to do gluten-free, I recommend that you take a combination of any 3 gluten-free grains: brown rice, millet, amaranth, quinoa, sorghum, any of those. Put them on the finest setting in your pastry setting, on your mill, the finest setting on your mill, the pastry setting, and then grind them. And you'll have a wonderful flour. It's not going to work as good as spelt, but it's going to be great. You're going to love it. So we're going to take our spelt grain, and we're going to grind it on the finest setting. And in about a minute, we're going to have a nice bucket of fresh ground spelt flour, perfect for all of our holiday pie needs. The next secret to making pie dough is frozen butter. You have to have frozen butter. I've tried all kinds of things in making my pie dough flaky. Remember, flaky pie dough is a result of your little pieces of butter melting, or your shortening, whatever you use, melting between the flour, and it causes a little steam pocket. That's what makes your pie dough flaky. Flaky pie dough is kind of an art. Not a lot of people can do it. And the reason they can't do it is they overwork their dough, and the butter or the shortening just kind of melts in there, and they don't get that flakiness. So we're going to show you the greatest Chef Brad tip I've ever found about doing it, and it's using your slicer shredder. Now, if you haven't yet purchased your slicer shredder, a food processor blade will work, but I love the slicer shredder attachment for the Wondermill. So I take my attachment on here. I have the large cheese grater attachment in there. I have a bowl underneath to catch it. I'm going to take my frozen butter right out of the freezer, and then I'm going to dump it in here. But first, I'm going to put in this bowl, I'm going to put 3 cups of fresh ground spelt flour. And I'm going to put about 1/4 cup of white sugar and a teaspoon of salt. Teaspoon of salt in there. And I'm just going to take the blade, my whisk blade, and just kind of move that around in there and mix that up. There we go. Now we're ready for the butter. So I'm going to grab the butter from the freezer. 2 sticks or 2 cubes of butter is what you need. Of course, you're going to take the paper off. Now, a lady told me the other day, this is a kind of funny story. She said she hated to go to her grandma's house when her grandma was making pies growing up, because her grandma would freeze the butter, and then she would make the children stick their hands in a bowl of ice water to make their hands really cold, and then they would have to hand grate the butter. I am so grateful for modern conveniences, so I don't have to freeze my hands and grab the butter. So we take our frozen butter, drop it in here. And we have our little pusher on here. We're going to turn it on to high. Look at that. Perfectly little frozen butter pebbles. We're going to do it one more time with our 2nd cube of butter. Drop it in there. Turn it on high. Turn it off. Just take this off and just tap the rest of the butter out there. Perfect. There we go. Now we have a beautiful bowl of frozen butter. So the next step is we're going to turn this over, put our mixer on here. This mixing bowl right on the mixer. And we're going to use the dough hook. But before we put the dough hook in, we're going to take our butter and we're just going to dump the frozen butter right into the flour. And we want to take the whisk again, and we're just going to kind of coat it in flour just a little bit. There you go. Now we're going to take our dough hook in. You don't want to use the whips or the whisk because you don't want to beat it to death. You want to just mix it to where it's incorporated. Then we're going to take a cup of heavy cream or buttermilk, whichever one you prefer. A heavy cream is going to give you a more tender dough, but buttermilk works fabulous too. So we're going to take about a cup of buttermilk, and we're going to turn this on 1, the lowest speed, and we're just going to gently pour the buttermilk over until it pulls together and forms a dough. If you need a drop more, you want it to pull together. Just add a drop more. There you go. And the minute it pulls together and forms the dough, you turn it off. Now I want to show you the amazing thing about that. Look at that. You have all those little chunks of butter all the way through your dough. That's going to give us the perfect flaky dough. Next, we're going to roll the dough out and bake a buttermilk pie so you can see just how perfect this dough really is. Our pie dough is ready to go, and I want you to look at that. See all the little butter in there? It's absolutely beautiful. Now, if you're making pies and you don't want to use it right away, is what I do. I'll just cut it in half and just kind of flatten it in a disc, wrap it in saran wrap, and put it in the refrigerator. And this will last up to a week or more in your refrigerator or a month or more in your freezer. And it's great because you can get your pie dough ahead of time so you don't have to last minute making all your pie dough. So we're going to take this. This will make 2 shells. So we're just going to kind of form these, and then we're going to use fresh ground spelt flour. And this is kind of a nice sticky dough, so we're going to use a lot of flour under there. Press it down, and the less you handle the dough, the flakier it will be. So now we're going to take our rolling pin, and we're going to roll this out to the right shape. And I love how I can see all the little butter. If you look at that, you can see all the little butter specks in there. Oh, my mouth is watering because I know it's going to be a flaky, wonderful dough. And it's whole grain on top of that. Isn't that great? Now we have that done. Today I'm going to use, instead of 9-inch pans, it's a holiday season, so I'm going to use my little tart pans. It's going to take a little bit less of the batter in there, but it will be perfect. So now this just lifts right up. We're going to slide this over, put it in our pan, form our dough in there. And I don't worry if I have a little bit of leftover dough, because I love to make tarts with that. You roll it out, cut it with a biscuit cutter, put a little bit of jam on top and bake it, and it's a great treat for the children or the grandchildren. Okay, now we have that in there. We're just going to take our cutter and just go around the edge. Pretty simple. There's one, and we're going to do our other one. If you're stressing and not having fun, you're doing something wrong. Nothing to stress about. Just enjoy what you're doing. There we go. That's just beautiful. We're going to trim it again. And our pies are ready to fill. If you were going to make a cream pie, I would definitely put these in the refrigerator and get them nice and firm before you put them in the oven. And then you'll have a shell. We're going to fill these today with a buttermilk filling. It's a buttermilk pie. It's a Southern classic for the holiday season. We're going to make a buttermilk filling. Now, a lot of the recipes I found do that. They have you cook it in a double broiler. I never do that. I just throw it in my blender and blend it all up until it's nice and pureed, put it on my pans, and put it right in the oven. It saves about 7 to 10 minutes time on baking this pie. So it's great. So we're just going to add our ingredients. We're going to put in a cube of butter and 3 eggs, large eggs. And then we're going to add sugar, and I love coconut sugar. It totally changes the taste of this pie. It gives it a richness that you can't even explain it until you taste it. It's great. A little bit of vanilla. well, I'm sorry, a nice lot of vanilla. I love vanilla. It gives it a really great flavor. And then we're going to put in just a couple drops of orange oil. It's the holiday season. Orange is great. If you don't like orange, you don't have to put in it. It will still be great. But I love orange flavor during the holiday season. And then we're going to add buttermilk. It's a buttermilk pie. So we're going to put in a cup and a little bit more of buttermilk. There's our ingredients. And just a dash of salt. Just a dash of salt. We're going to put the lid on. And we're going to turn this on until it's nice and creamy. After it's nice and creamy, we're going to turn it off and it's ready to go. Now, isn't that a lot easier than the double broiler? Oh, and it smells great. And we're going to pour this in our pie shell. Should be enough to do 2 pies. Perfect. And then we're going to put our pies in the oven and bake them for about 45 to 50 minutes or until they don't jiggle anymore. And you'll have the perfect pie for your holiday meal.